The instant the announcement rippled through digital channels, it ignited a predictable storm across social media, entertainment outlets, and royal analysis forums, all echoing the same intrigue. What does Meghan Markle's newest venture truly signify? And why is it allegedly stirring discomfort among palace insiders? At first glance, the initiative seems meticulously crafted, sleek, and seamlessly integrated with the entrepreneurial persona Meghan has cultivated since departing royal responsibilities. However, beneath this glossy facade, seasoned royal commentators posit a more intricate narrative, one that revives lingering sensitivities, unaddressed frictions, and the perpetually delicate interplay between personal ambition and the establishment they distance themselves from. To grasp why this evolution is being portrayed as a source of apprehension, it's essential to examine not merely the endeavor itself, but the surrounding circumstances, its strategic rollout, and the monarchy's enduring recollections. Since establishing roots in California, Meghan has methodically rebuilt her public presence, transitioning from a phase of measured reticence to one of calculated prominence. Each business launch, collaboration, or media engagement has been intentional, frequently centered on motifs of innovation, lifestyle empowerment, and transcending institutional limitations. Admirers view this as an organic progression, a trailblazer claiming sovereignty after enduring relentless examination. Detractors, conversely, contend that every fresh initiative rekindles royal vulnerabilities, especially when it encroaches on commercial territories, legacies, or discrete interactions once deemed confidential. This current venture, per analysts, squarely invades that precarious domain. What appears to perturb palace circles isn't inherently the substance of Meghan's enterprise, but the emblematic weight it carries. The monarchy flourishes on heritage, steadiness, and a meticulously curated persona that prioritizes cohesion and discretion. When an ex-senior royal inaugurates a commercial expansion that tacitly reinterprets former affiliations, it disrupts that orchestrated storyline. Even absent direct allusions or overt declarations, the connotations suffice to provoke unease. Former and current royal advisors reportedly fret over international interpretations, particularly in markets where the monarchy's commercial influence is already scrutinized. The scheduling further intensifies why this juncture feels exceptionally loaded. Amid the royal family's navigation of transitional fluxes, characterized by evolving public roles and heightened accountability, any unforeseen Sussex-linked progression amplifies. Meghan's rollout coincides with the palace's emphasis on bolstering economic stability and conveying serene progression. In this context, a prominent transatlantic business thrust can appear as an intrusive diversion, diverting focus from meticulously orchestrated royal initiatives. Another facet of intricacy resides in how Meghan's venture is embraced by the masses versus perceived within royal confines. To numerous onlookers, her latest expansion might resemble a bold advancement, an astute harnessing of her influence to forge her narrative independently. Inside palace walls, though, there's alleged worry regarding precedents. If a departed royal can effectively erect a worldwide commercial empire while preserving a potent link to royal prestige, it prompts inquiries about delineating personal enterprise from institutional demarcations. This transcends Meghan alone, signaling potential pathways for subsequent royal generations pursuing comparable independence. Media responses have merely heightened these apprehensions. Headlines frequently cast the narrative as a collision between contemporary entrepreneurship and age-old royal etiquette, perpetuating tales of persistent rivalry. Even innocuous advancements can morph into sagas of competition or counteraction, compelling the palace into defensiveness. Traditionally, the monarchy opts to transcend such patterns, seldom retorting outright to speculation. Yet, recurrent spotlight instances tied to Meghan test this tactic, as reticence can occasionally be misconstrued as vulnerability or implicit concession. It's equally vital to recognize the intimate aspect rendering this scenario profoundly emotive. Beyond the apparatus lie persons with entrenched bonds, collective chronicles, and concealed encounters seldom glimpsed publicly. For them, Meghan's recent expansion may transcend public relations quandaries, evoking recollections of individual rifts yet to mend. Royal pundits imply this sentimental substratum genuinely propels the unease more than any solitary launch or product line. Notwithstanding the strain, there's evident moderation in palace sources' purported reactions. Instead of blatant rebuke, the stance is often depicted as vigilant observation. This mirrors a wider policy of evading intensification, even amid palpable disquiet. The monarchy's endurance has historically hinged on its capacity to assimilate disruptions and evolve subtly, and this methodology seems steadfast, confronting trials that probe its conventional limits. As discourse proliferates publicly, one certainty emerges. Meghan Markle persists as a formidable influencer in molding monarchy dialogues, even remotely. Her newest venture, irrespective of viewpoint, highlights her persistent sway on royal tales and the disquiet that sway can incite within palace spheres. Whether this instance denotes a pivotal shift or merely an additional segment in a protracted, multifaceted chronicle is pending, but its import rests in revealing the fragile equilibrium between convention and innovation, oversight and self-reliance that the royal family perpetually maneuvers in a swiftly transforming landscape. As scrutiny intensifies, focus inescapably pivots to how this fresh development aligns with Meghan's overarching path post-royal exit, and why it resonates so potently within palace environs. What renders her initiatives especially potent is their fusion of individual reinvention and institutional heritage. Meghan is unbound by royal decorum, yet indelibly tethered to the monarchy and collective consciousness. Every enterprise she embarks upon filters through that affiliation, intended or otherwise, and that persistent linkage is exactly what maintains palace vigilance. From the palace's vantage, the hurdle involves steering a narrative beyond full command. For eras, the monarchy depended on rigorously synchronized communications, with senior royals functioning as emissaries of a singular, cohesive entity. Meghan's autonomy upends this paradigm. She engages global consumers sans royal consultant sieves or conventional media sessions, and that unmediated conduit can disconcert an establishment founded on formality and detachment. Even as her offerings emphasize universal concepts like wellness or aspiration, they might be construed as veiled reflections on her royal tenure, eliciting contrasts palace confidants prefer to sidestep. There's additionally the matter of authenticity and accessibility. Meghan's advocates maintain that her openly shared journeys connect with those feeling marginalized or confined by inflexible frameworks. That accessibility bolsters her clout, notably among youthful demographics growing dubious of entrenched hierarchies. Within the palace, this evolution in communal outlook is meticulously monitored. The monarchy endeavors to contemporize its facade, yet proceeds warily, cognizant that haste might estrange its core supporters. Meghan's forthright adoption of contemporary commerce can render those endeavors seem antiquated comparatively, injecting further friction. Detractors in royal critique arenas often depict Meghan's thrusts as premeditated, implying each phase is engineered to leverage royal pertinence while functioning beyond royal obligations. Whether equitable or not, this lens mirrors wider apprehensions about frontiers. The palace strives to uphold stark distinctions between active royals and retirees. When that demarcation blurs, it can elicit worry over communal bewilderment and the erosion of royal functions. This recent expansion, in their estimation, hazards amplifying that vagueness. Communal feedback, predictably, is starkly divided. Online platforms erupt with rival accounts, some lauding Meghan for harnessing her platform, others charging her with stoking turmoil. This schism itself poses a dilemma for the monarchy, which customarily situates itself as a harmonizing entity above partisan or societal schisms. When narratives connected to ex-royals spawn fervent contention, it undermines that harmonizing persona, entangling the institution in cultural skirmishes it favors evading. Palace strategists are reportedly keenly attuned to this interplay, albeit seldom admitting it overtly. An additional element fueling palace disquiet is the transnational scope of Meghan's enterprise. Dissimilar to numerous royal disputes confined domestically, her ventures echo worldwide, especially in burgeoning markets. Coverage in diverse regions often frames her saga via prisms of entrepreneurial liberty and self-empowerment, motifs resounding robustly with international consumers. This perspective can starkly oppose British press accounts stressing obligation and legacy. The ensuing cross-cultural rift complicates the palace's endeavors to sustain a uniform global persona, particularly in a digital epoch obliterating territorial confines. Speculation also abounds on how Meghan's expansion influences inter-familial interactions. Though formal declarations are sparse, royal observers intimate such instances can resurrect confidential dialogues and lingering disputes. The monarchy constitutes not solely an establishment but a kin, and public evolutions invariably intersect intimate ties. For those enduring within the royal sphere, witnessing a former affiliate dominate commercial headlines can serve as both a memento of prior clashes and a fount of persistent affective burden. This humanistic component, frequently eclipsed by structural dissection, significantly contributes to why concerns delve deeper than overt pronouncements imply. Simultaneously, it would oversimplify to perceive the palace's response as entirely protective. Certain pundits discern a vein of begrudging respect for Meghan's prowess in captivating notice and sculpting commerce. Her business acumen and international span are indisputable, and in alternate scenarios, those talents might have been extolled as boons to the monarchy. Instead, they thrive externally, underscoring the schism's toll and foregone prospects for synergy viable under varied conditions. As the narrative progresses, queries surface regarding durability. Will Meghan's methodology sustain sway sans further heightening strains, or will each novel thrust widen the chasm? For the palace, the tactic seems to persist as prudent separation, shunning direct involvement while scrutinizing communal responses intently. This mirrors insights gleaned from prior imbroglios where impulsive replies often aggravated rather than alleviated matters. Fundamentally, this fresh development accentuates a wider societal transition in negotiating authority, persona, and heritage publicly. Meghan Markle's thrusts reside at the crossroads of celebrity commerce and millennia-old monarchy, unmasking fissures once simpler to obscure. The palace's apprehensions transcend a singular commercial foray, encompassing what it emblematizes in an age of decentralized tales and interrogated sovereignty. As spectators observe and deliberate, the monarchy must traverse a nuanced equilibrium, safeguarding its fundamental tenets while acclimating to a realm where voices akin to Meghan's wield irrefutable heft. As this episode unfurls further, the extended ramifications of Meghan's latest thrust commence crystallizing, transcending prompt headlines or transient palace disquiet. What genuinely alarms royal intimates, per veteran watchers, is these instances' accumulative impact. Singularly, each evolution can be rationalized, disregarded, or integrated. Collectively, however, they forge a motif that progressively remolds communal comprehension of departing royal existence while still swaying the monarchy's worldwide facade. This developing interplay contests presumptions the establishment has depended upon across generations. One profound alteration pertains to authority's perception. Conventionally, royal clout emanated from status, ancestry, and perpetuity. Meghan's leverage, contrastingly, derives from commercial prowess. She garners focus not via formal capacity, but through framing her ventures in emotionally resonant manners for vast audiences. This leverage proves tougher to anticipate and govern, and that capriciousness inherently disconcerts a regime erected on regimen and propriety. Palace apprehension herein concerns less any isolated offering and more the escalating acknowledgement that commercial authority can rival institutional authority contemporarily. Legacy queries also loom. The monarchy contemplates in decades, centuries even, scrupulously shaping each epoch's remembrance. Meghan's ongoing commercial footprint muddles this. Forthcoming deliberations of this era won't stem exclusively from official royal archives or managed spectacles, but also autonomous voices proffering alternate vistas. For an establishment prizing historical seamlessness, this narrative diversification injects uncertainty. Palace stewards may agonize over how chroniclers and the populace will construe this period when myriad tales exist beyond conventional royal scaffolds. Communal sympathy holds pivotal sway here. Meghan's proponents often portray her odyssey as tenacity amid crushing duress, a tale soliciting compassion and affinity. When substantial public segments emotionally commit to that arc, it can obliquely mold their institutional view she abandoned. Even sans explicit censure, the juxtaposition between personal endeavor and institutional inflexibility can sway outlooks. This nuanced sentiment drift is arduous to quantify yet profoundly sensed, constituting a rationale for enduring palace concern despite superficial composure. Concurrently, Meghan's thrust illuminates the profoundly mutating essence of celebrity influence and leverage in the contemporary world. In prior eras, royal stature alone epitomized the absolute zenith of visibility and public fascination, where mere association with the crown granted unparalleled prominence without the necessity of independent commercial effort. The palace's aura sufficed to command attention, loyalty, and economic opportunities on a global scale. Presently, however, the landscape has dramatically shifted due to the rise of global digital arenas, social media platforms, and direct-to-consumer commerce models that empower individuals to nurture and expand their leverage autonomously. These modern ecosystems frequently offer amplified agility, reach, and extent. allowing figures to bypass traditional gatekeepers and build empires through personal branding, e-commerce, and content creation. Meghan maneuvers adeptly within this transformed terrain, expertly exploiting avenues of modern commerce, such as her rebranded lifestyle line as ever, formerly American Riviera Orchard, with its curated selections of jams, honeys, teas, candles, and emerging categories like homeware and limited edition collaborations to forge direct, unmediated connections with consumers worldwide. Her approach leverages Instagram announcements, Netflix synergies, and strategic product drops to cultivate a devoted audience that engages with her vision of thoughtful living, entertaining, and everyday joy. For the monarchy, acclimating to this stark new verity without jeopardizing its unique, time honored persona poses a perpetual and increasingly complex trial. The institution must reconcile its emphasis on restraint, heritage, and collective representation with the reality that former members can now achieve outsized commercial success independently. Each triumph of a former royal externally, whether through sellout launches or media buzz, accentuates the pressing necessity for adaptation while concurrently exposing the inherent constraints of tradition, where innovation must always be tempered by protocol and public duty. This dynamic creates an uncomfortable mirror for the palace, highlighting how the old model of centralized control now competes with decentralized, personality driven economies. Another intricacy stratum lies in the deeper repercussion on junior royals who are quietly observing these developments from within the system. Pundits and royal observers intimate that Meghan's trajectory may subtly yet powerfully incite internal queries among the younger generation regarding personal sovereignty, the pursuit of entrepreneurial equilibrium, and the delicate harmony between lifelong duty and individual self fulfillment. These are not abstract philosophical musings, but practical considerations in an era where mental health, work life balance, and personal agency are increasingly prioritized, even within rigid structures. Even when such inquiries remain unspoken publicly to preserve institutional cohesion, they resonate inwardly, potentially influencing career choices, public engagements, and long term commitment levels. The palace's apprehension, thus, encompasses far more than mere outward perception or media management. It extends to the critical task of sustaining unity, morale, and unwavering devotion among those who remain dedicated to the Crown's service. An establishment that has historically relied on perpetual, unquestioned commitment from its members must now judiciously handle exemplars that appear to proffer viable alternate routes, paths that promise greater flexibility, financial independence, and personal expression without the burdens of royal scrutiny or obligation. This challenge is compounded by the generational shift, as younger royals navigate a world where social media amplifies individual voices and traditional hierarchies face skepticism from global audiences. Notwithstanding these formidable hurdles, it's noteworthy that moments of tension and external pressure have historically served as powerful catalysts for the monarchy's evolution and renewal. Prior crises, ranging from abdications and wartime challenges to more recent scandals, have compelled necessary reforms that ultimately fortified the institution's relevance, adaptability, and public support in changing times. Some astute analysts posit that Meghan's sustained independence and entrepreneurial success might, in the long term, inadvertently foster more candid, constructive dialogues within palace walls on essential topics. The pace of modernization, the establishment of clearer personal boundaries for royals, and the often overlooked human toll exacted by royal life, including intense media pressure, restricted autonomy, and emotional strains. Whether the palace ultimately chooses to adopt elements of this potential, perhaps by loosening certain protocols or embracing more flexible roles, or instead rebuffs it in favor of preserving the status quo, remains undetermined at this juncture. Yet the impetus for adaptation is palpably extant, driven by broader societal shifts toward individualism, transparency, and inclusivity that no ancient institution can entirely ignore without risking obsolescence. In this sense, Meghan's path, though divisive, contributes to an ongoing conversation that could reshape the monarchy for future generations, ensuring its survival through evolution rather than rigid resistance. For Meghan, the horizon likely entails the ongoing, intricate navigation of relentless public scrutiny that shows no signs of abating in the foreseeable future. Each new thrust, be it a product expansion, collaborative launch, or media appearance, will be meticulously dissected, not solely for its intrinsic content and quality, but for the deeper perceived implications it carries for the royal family and the institution she once represented. Proponents, including a dedicated global fan base and progressive commentators, will readily discern themes of empowerment, authenticity, and veracity in her endeavors, viewing them as inspiring demonstrations of resilience and self determination after years of constraint. Critics, often rooted in traditional royalist circles or tabloid narratives, will interpret the same actions through lenses of instigation, calculated strategy, or attempts to maintain relevance by subtly invoking royal associations. This inherent polarity, fierce admiration on one side, sharp skepticism on the other, assures that her every move remains inherently newsworthy, perpetually fueling headlines, debates, and social media engagement that solidify her position as a pivotal, inescapable entity in the persistent placement of monarchy within modern society. As the fallout from this latest thrust gradually stabilizes amid ongoing product drops and rumored expansions, one fundamental verity protrudes with unmistakable clarity. The overarching saga transcends any lone resolution, isolated proclamation, or single business milestone. Instead, it fundamentally concerns the ongoing, profound redefinitions of roles, personal identities, and forms of leverage in a rapidly evolving realm where ancient tradition and ceaseless metamorphosis coexist in tense, uneasy equilibrium. Palace concerns, while outwardly measured, mirror far broader anxieties about control and narrative authority in an era where oversight has become increasingly elusive amid decentralized media, viral platforms, and consumer driven economies. Meghan Markle's latest thrust, rooted in her ambitious scaling of, as ever, through global ambitions, new categories, and synergistic projects, serves as a potent reminder that even the most antiquity steeped establishments must now grapple directly with the undeniable might of individual entrepreneurial voices that operate beyond institutional bounds. These voices command attention, shape cultural conversations, and generate economic value on their own terms, often with greater immediacy and authenticity than traditional structures can muster. Consequently, the monarchy's destiny moving forward will be molded not solely by those who dwell intramurally, upholding protocols and continuity from within the palace walls, but equally by those, such as Meghan, who have deliberately elected exterior paths, forging independent legacies that continue to intersect with, challenge, and influence the royal narrative from afar. This dual dynamic underscores a pivotal truth. In the 21st century, institutional endurance depends not on isolation from external forces, but on the capacity to engage with, learn from, and perhaps even integrate the energies of those who have stepped beyond, ensuring the crown remains resonant in a world forever transformed by individual agency and innovation.